Hey, hello leaders, and welcome back to Run to Your Leadership Challenges. This is episode number 305. And today I'm going to be talking about the leadership failure of micromanaging. Now, this is good for you to listen to whether or not you are the one that is micromanaging or whether you're the one being micromanaged. And we'll talk about that at the end, but I'm going to hit record here and we're going to record the podcast. You will see all the double takes and my blunders and bloopers, but you can hear the edited version at on Spotify, YouTube, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Alexa Flash Brief, Hey Google, all that other stuff. All right, so I'm going to hit record, give it a couple seconds, and then I will record. Hello leaders, and welcome back to Run to Your Leadership Challenges. So this week I'm discussing the challenge of leadership failure and the impact that it can have. Today I want to talk about micromanaging as a type of leadership failure. Now before I begin, I want to say that in some cases micromanaging is legit and actually needed. But in most cases, that's only for the unskilled team members or your untrained members. The type of micromanaging failure that I'm talking about is when leaders micromanage their veteran team members as they are working on tasks and projects that they know how to do. If you've ever been on the receiving end of this type of micromanaging, you know exactly how demoralizing it can be. And I think you would agree that it is definitely a type of leadership failure. So this type of failure kills team morale and growth. And I probably could have included this topic in last week's theme of retention, because it's a retention issue too. The more you micromanage, the more you're going to tick off your people, and the more your better people especially are going to start looking for jobs elsewhere. If your people struggle with micromanaging, you're going to lose your best people. Okay, so here's my advice if you are the micromanager. Take a vacation. Now, I'm serious about this one. Chances are, if you're an extreme micromanager, it's probably been a while since you've been on a vacay, right? I mean, you need to get out of the office and just leave your phones and everything else. Don't tell them how to contact you, and don't contact the office, because chances are the only time you have been on vacation over the last couple of years, you have probably checked in continuously over and over, making sure everything's right or making sure everything's going all right. Next, you can make a list of all your team members and what their greatest skills and talents are, and ensure that you have placed them accordingly in a position that will align with their strengths and skills and talents. Then let them go to work without interrupting and or adding your 2 cents every couple minutes or every couple hours. And let them thrive in their position. And yes, this may even include letting them fail, of course, if it's not. And this may include letting them fail if it's not a safety hazard, of course. So these actions will immediately do 2 things. First of all, it'll freak you out just a little bit, because if you're a micromanager, it's going to be weird not checking up on your people and just letting them work. So don't worry, you'll get through it. This is kind of like a craving that you had, but it's when you're micromanaging and you start letting go and letting your people work, it's kind of like overcoming an addiction. Secondly, it will have an immediate impact on your team members. They will think you're sick or something They'll actually probably think you're sick or there's something wrong with you initially. So be sure to follow up with them. Not to check on them, but just to let them know that you're trying to be more hands-off with them. That will more than likely bring about a big smile from them. Finally, if you're the one being micromanaged, this is bad. Man, I'm rusty today. So finally, if you're the one being micromanaged, go check out my YouTube channel, Current Leadership Coaching, for the rest of this episode. As I've already blown my time limit, see what I'm doing here? I'm screwing up, but I'm trying to force people to come here and watch the video. Finally, if you're the one being micromanaged, go check out my YouTube channel, Current Leadership Coaching, for the rest of this episode. As I've already blown the time limit that I've want to, and I want to, as I've already blown the time limit, and I want to keep this podcast as short as possible. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and especially I hope you received some value from it. Micromanaging the wrong team members can ruin you as a leader and kill the morale and motivation on your team. So knock it off today and watch how things begin to turn around. As always, thanks for listening, and until tomorrow, run to your challenges. Okay, that was a terrible recording, and I'm going to spend a lot of time editing that's for sure. But here's the deal. If you're the one being micromanaged, and this is going to sound weird or maybe a little off, but just do what your micromanaged leader is asking you to do. That's it. Just do it. And eventually your micromanaging leader is going to realize that they don't need to check up on you because you're already doing things the way they want it done. And quite frankly, when a micromanager is micromanaging you all the time, it's because you're doing something different than the way they want it or expect it done. So the bottom line is just do your task the way they want it done. That's awesome. I just hit stop on my record. So, all right. So, does that make sense? I mean, I have worked for many micromanagers over the years, and the best way that I have found is the best way I've found to get past them and stop them from micromanaging is to simply do the things you want. I remember when I first started this job, there was this micromanager that they were in charge of everybody. And when I first got there, everybody hated this person. They were like, oh, they are the biggest micromanager and nothing can ever be done right and this and that. And, I just took it all with a grain of salt and then I went about my business. And when I was asked to do something from that person, I asked some detailed questions and I said, okay, fine. And I went and I did the project exactly how they told me to do it. I handed it to him and I waited for some criticism. And the person looked at me and said, what are you waiting for? And I'm like, well, I just wanted to see if that's all right. They said, well, did you do it the way I wanted it? And I said, yes, I did. And they said, well, there shouldn't be any problems. So I said, okay, fine. I left their office and I waited patiently day after day. So a few days went by. I went back down to their office and I said, hey, I just wanted to check, was that project done the way you wanted it? Was it okay? And they kind of, did I come and ask you about it? I'm like, no. And they said, well, I guess it was all right. And from that point forward, they never micromanaged me. So there's a lot to be said about just doing things the way they want it done. And then eventually they're going to be like, cool, I can trust that person. Because micromanagers, if you're a micromanager, you probably have a trust issue, or you just don't feel like your people can do it as best as you can. So you're going to continuously check up on them and make sure they're doing it the way you want it done. So if that's you, or if you're being micromanaged, I hope this show helped, or this episode. And please join us tomorrow just for a quick preview of tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the leadership failure of communication, all right, and communicating, failing to communicate. So I hope you join us tomorrow. Until then, run to your challenges.